The United States ought to pay reparations to African Americans because of the heinous injustice that is slavery and the continued mistreatment that followed after the abolition of slavery. For 2.5 centuries, African Americans have been treated as property and denied basic human and civil rights such as freedom and the right to vote. Africans were forcibly taken from their homes in Africa and packed like sardines in horribly inhumane conditions in their ships sailing to the Americas. Upon arrival, they were ripped apart from their families and were forced to work for no pay under masters who had little to no concern for the safety and happiness of their slaves. Even after the abolition of slavery, African Americans are still at a disadvantage economically, socially, and education-wise as compared to other races. Racism reigned supreme in the years immediately following slavery as communities, banks, businesses, and even the police colluded against African Americans. African Americans were given little to no chances in the business world and were given the worst jobs, while the police publicly brutalized and humiliated countless African Americans. Today, approximately 31% of African Americans currently use food stamps compared to just 15% of white people. African Americans typically have a lesser education because of the area they are forced to live in and the subsequent inferior school district they have to attend. Even though African Americans are being treated light years better than before, the negative repercussions of slavery and racism are still evident in today's society. Making reparation payments to African Americans is the only clear-cut way to make up for our ancestors' obvious crimes. In essence, the reparations will be payments to the Africans that work for no money, because it is the right thing to do to pay people for the work they have done, and the money would go to their descendants. Reparation payments would also benefit people other than African Americans. Reparations would inject money into the economy, and the lower-class African Americans would use that money to increase consumer spending, which benefits the economy. It would also be a symbolic gesture by the United States showing their acknowledgement of their past wrongdoings, which would place the United States in a good light and place international pressure on other countries to do the same. If other countries follow the United States' path of making reparation payments to people they have wronged, the world in general will be a better place. In addition, making reparation payments would also educate people on the past and make sure nothing like slavery ever happened again. If reparation payments were given to Japanese Americans for the injustices done to them during World War II, reparation payments should be made to African Americans as well. African Americans endured far longer times of wrongdoing and were actually enslaved by the Americans instead of being simply relocated like the Japanese.